Oh, hello. You just caught me in bed. Welcome to another episode of RHLSTP this week with Iszi Lawrence. This is a really, really funny one. I hope you're going to enjoy it. I'm a little bit laid up in bed. No spoilers for the coming weeks because there's lots of fun to be had. I think I'm on the mend. I've had a little operation this week. But hopefully RHLSTP will continue. I'm taking a little break from all my other stupid podcasts until I'm back on my feet. But thank you for your continued support. Thanks for all the nice wishes of get well soon. I hope I will get well soon. And do support us if you can. Go fasterstripe.com/badges. Or your money will be spent on more podcasts or a lavish funeral for me if things go wrong. So, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling very good as long as I don't sneeze, cough, laugh, or look down there. Oh my God, what have they done to me? All right, kids, have a great time. This is RHLSTP with the fantastic Iszi Lawrence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a man who keeps forgetting that he has to do this keep introducing himself thing and doesn't come up with anything. It's Richard Herring! Hello, my fan friends. Welcome to another episode of Richard Herring's lip-smacking, thirst-quenching, ace-tasting, motivating, good buzzing, cool talking, high-walking, fast-living, never-giving, cool-fizzing podcast. Oh, yeah, I was talking to the people who marketed Pepsi in the 1970s, and they called it RHLSTP. Good. So here we are. We're back for another show. It feels like we've done a lot this week, and we have, because we were at the Clapham Grand last Saturday, and did an unprecedented 2 shows in one night. It's never happened before, and it's impossible. It's impossible to do. So you will have enjoyed those at home. If you're watching on Twitch, they are coming up soon with Nish Kumar and Luce Sanders. It was lots of fun. It was great to be out in the real world. Socially distanced, no audience, but people online. We might do some more. Do tune in and buy a ticket so you can see them live if we do some more, because it's a good way to help keep theatres going and keep us going. Mainly because my money that I got from these podcasts usually came from the door money. So COVID was great for me. News just in, hot off the presses, a Sky News, this won't be for you if you listen to the podcast, a single Coke can would be big enough to contain all the COVID-19 causing virus currently circulating in the world, according to a British mathematician. What I want to know is why don't they put it all in there then, if there's this Coke can that we can put it all in? Come on, Boris Johnson. I mean, the danger of putting it in the Coke can, this is why you shouldn't trust experts. It's because someone down the line is going to see that Coke can, think there's Coke in it, open up and drink it, and the whole problem's going to start again in it. So why not put it in a can? Mark, warning, COVID, don't put it in a Coke can. Scientists, you're useless. That's why we're in this situation. I had a picture for that and everything, and I forgot to put it up. Is it, let's have a look. Is it that one? Look, I put that up just before the show because I literally wrote that joke on Twitter 20 minutes ago. That's how up to the minute this is. And other news, there were 17,000 new podcasts created every month in 2020. That's cool, but I only did 16,995 new ones every month. So who did the other 5? Back off, whoever it was. Was it Ed Gamble? This is no one else can do podcasts. I've been in hospital with a mystery testicle-based illness, which, hopefully we'll be able to joke about down the line. I'm feeling quite well, but I did have to go into a CT scanner this week. It was like being Quaid in Total Recall, so it wasn't all too bad. And that's what I was imagining as it was happening. But I was sort of slightly put out to find out that the CT scanner, you can see a picture of it there, is made by the same people who make my washing machine and my microwave. And if I'm going to have my organs scanned, I want it by someone who specialises, not someone who's just, let's try. What if they put microwave technology in there? What if it's a washing machine and all my organs are pulped up? And I only chose my microwave and my washing machine because the company who made them are called Siemens. And if that's the way the hospital are choosing as well, that is not a good way to choose a CT scanner. What I should have been concentrating on having all the instructions I was getting at the time, but I became fixated on the fact that on this pristine CT machine, just above my eye level, there was a sort of dent and crack in it, and there's no way that like someone's rolled a trolley into that. That's in a special room, and I was just wondering how the fuck did that dent get in that machine? What as a previous person done it? Was Quaid going nuts and escaping from someone's had a struggle? Or so maybe you're not allowed to wear anything metal, so maybe something had pinged up and hit it, or come out. Something artificial hip had come out. I shouldn't have been thinking about this stuff. I should have been thinking about my own mortality. And I've been in a CT machine once before, and I only remembered that because they did the same thing where they said we're going to put this dye into. They put a thing in your arm, and then they put dye into your blood to make it easier to see your organs. And I remembered that had happened before, and they said we do have to warn you that there's a chance that while you're having this done, you will feel like you've urinated and you've wet yourself. But you won't have, don't worry, it won't be the thing. And I was really looking forward to that, and it didn't feel like that. All that happened is my arm hurt a bit, and I was really looking forward, and I was the last time I did this as well. So I'm very disappointed to have been in a CT machine, not had a Total Recall style meltdown, and not felt like I've pissed myself. What's the point in paying for the NHS if we can't even feel like we've pissed ourselves? That is my question to you. So, right. I think I'm okay, but I'll let you know. He who lives by the genitals dies by the genitals. So that is that. I've already started writing the show just in case. So that's what we do as comedians. You know, there's a part of me thinking, losing a testicle wouldn't be all that bad. Now, and speaking of that, that leads us to this week's guest, who is probably best known for being a producer of rock and roll's greatest failure, Otway the movie. Will you please welcome? That's what she's best known for. It's Iszi Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen. There you are.
This is the best intro ever. Hey guys, I've got bad balls. And hey, my guest actually donated to John Otway, the fool.
So I was thought there was one entry on IMDb for you, which is that, and I thought, that's quite impressive. She's the producer of a film. Then I clicked on it for some reason, and there were like 250, maybe more producers to that film. So I'm guessing
he convinced a lot of us to donate.
It was a sort of Kickstarter, get a production credit. But good on whoever did that and typed all that in, which I'm guessing is John Otway.
I imagine so.
For actually following through and calling people producers. I do that sometimes with this show, and I don't know if the executive producers ever end up on IMDb. I should check. I think you can just go and put yourself on there, but you might have to become IMDb Pro, which I am, so I could put you on if you are. Get in touch. No, don't. I'm not promising that. Do you like John Otway particularly, or have you forgotten about that?
I got drunk, went to one of his concerts, thought you were brilliant, and gave him money because, he is brilliant. He is an institution in his own little way, and what's not to love? So I gave him a bit of money.
He is pretty incredible, and I remember I went to Edinburgh, and I didn't know who he was. I went to Edinburgh the first time in 1987, I think. Yeah, it was, and Stuart Lee said, we're going to go and see this guy, John Otway. He's kind of he's this legendary figure from the old days.
And that was
30 years ago. 35 years ago.
Pretty much.
And he still is the exact same thing. But he was great.
I went to see, I must have done that like 2012 or something.
It's 2013.
Yeah, there you go.
That's your production. And that's your only... Well, have you not been on TV at all, Iszi Lawrence?
Well, I do... But I don't know if my stuff gets made. So I'm a talking head on quite a lot of things.
Yeah, that's usually... I've got loads of those to pick from.
I know. But I've done like last week I was doing the Royals in colour.
Okay.
And exactly, and I do things about, I did during lockdown. This is what I've been doing. I haven't been doing like comedy and that sort of thing. I've been stood in front of a camera whilst a producer in another room yells at me through perspex the questions which I have to deliver lovingly and wonderfully and the rest of it. So I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm basically not really on the internet, despite being almost totally on the internet.
That's hard to believe. You've got the best camera quality of any guest we have had.
There we go.
By far. And like we've had Richard Osman, who's a TV producer, does not own a laptop. Terrible. Could barely hear him speak. And Bethany Hughes looked like she was underwater. That's the only time someone's been. I thought that's actually as good a picture as I'm getting. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll take that. I'll put that on my IMDb.
Yeah,
I'll
you should do. Possibly you've got two. It might be that they didn't realise you were the same person. I might have just found that the top one was the.
I doubt
you might have another one.
I literally have no internet presence other than the thing I get. If you Google Iszi, ISZI, you just get me. There's just me for pages and pages, and it's all written by me, largely. It's
Well, that's the way
ridiculous.
To do it. And I do say that I've created all those podcasts, but I was unaware of quite how. I knew you did some podcasts because I've been on a couple of them, but you're vying for doing as many podcasts as me, and hardly any of them are just stupid rubbish of people messing around like most of mine are.
There are a few of those.
There are a couple.
I mean, there are a couple. There's for about 6 or 7 years, me and my friend Simon did a podcast called Sunday Supplements, where we reviewed last week's Sunday Supplements newspapers to work out which paper you should have bought last Sunday.
Okay.
Which cost us a lot. And it's literally, there's only so many podcasts you could do about glamping, because that's all that was ever in the Sunday Supplements. Oh, glamping's back. And you went absolutely, but like really good journalists like Carol Cadwallader, who does all of the sort of, big, corruption things now. She was writing in those Sunday Supplement newspapers about 10 years ago, and it was brilliant, because I was like, Carol Cadwallader, and I always looked out for her, because her name sounds like, a bicycle falling down the stairs. So, we did that one, and every time we tried to stop it, about 8 nerds bombarded us every day, so you can't stop. But then we came up with an idea for another podcast called Seti Sopo, which we're doing instead, with the advantage that we do not have to buy a newspaper every week. So that is good.
So that's a podcast about the opposites. You're trying to find the opposites.
Yeah,
which is it's opposite backward is the title.
Yeah, exactly. So you find the opposite of things which do not have a natural opposite. Like, what is the opposite of a motorway? And that's Tarama Salata.
Okay.
For various reasons. And we've got a wiki, and you can go through, and yes, we know Teabags is on twice. We know.
Okay.
But,
there's two types of teabags, though, aren't there? So there
are two types of teabags. Maybe we should specify that.
Yeah.
That might work. But, so people sort of like, we get suggestions from people every week, and they're sort of like, toasters! Flannels! And, then we try and discuss it and fill 20 minutes, and it's really bad.
I think it's an enjoyable. Well, that's what podcasts should be, in my opinion, and that's why so many of mine are that. It's just people wasting their own and everyone else's time. But actually, it's still very interesting, and then I can see you still. I would listen to the episode where you were saying God was the opposite of the TARDIS, so that's one that maybe it's the most recent. You say, what's the opposite of the TARDIS? I don't agree with you that God and the TARDIS are almost the same. You could argue that the TARDIS is God.
No, because the TARDIS doesn't create anything, does it? It just goes places.
Well, but that might be what God is. But God, it has the ability
God's
to travel
everywhere all the time.
So's the fucking TARDIS. The TARDIS is everywhere all the time.
No, but it's not. It's there for a bit of the time, because it's never there when you want it in order to make the plot work.
But it is, because it eventually will go everywhere if it exists forever. And even if the universe is infinite, it will eventually be everywhere and have been everywhere and can still go back to anywhere it wants to go, which is the same as God. It breaks. Yeah, but God breaks, doesn't he? Or she. Because that's why the world's in such a mess.
Yeah, maybe.
And, where's God been? God comes and goes. And it's 2,000 years since he was possibly last here.
I have a question for you about the TARDIS.
Yeah, right. Okay. Thank you.
Because, you do this question where you say, does a man in history suck his own cock?
Yeah.
Right? And you've asked a few people if Doctor Who sucked his own cock.
Right.
Because it's important information. We need to know. don't you think that in the TARDIS there would be a door whereby the Doctor could put his cock through, and then Doctor in the future or the past come through and suck his own cock?
Well, I mean,
in a
there
way
doesn't
that
need
doesn't
to be
hurt
a
his
door.
neck.
They meet up, don't they, all the time? So they could. It's difficult now for the Doctor to suck her own cock.
That is true. But
we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on.
I mean, there could be if the Doctors get to suck each other's cocks because they can go that far in time. I mean, it could be that David Tennant is going, "Oh no, in the future I lose all my teeth." But would you, if you were the Doctor, suck your cock first and then get your cock sucked, or? Or the other way around. So
my main problem with this is I don't think I've ever asked this question about Doctor Who, and you said I've done it loads of times. I don't think I ever have.
I think you have.
And if I was Doctor Who, it would what? So if I'm William, I'm William Hartnell. Is that what you said? Or actually, no, it goes back. Now it's got confusing because the Doctor's been around forever and is a fucking god. So I think I don't really understand what's happening in Doctor Who, but I do still watch it without understanding. If I was William Hartnell, I think I would. I think I would have. If I was William Hartnell, I just wouldn't have even thought about sucking my own cock. And then one of the other Doctors would have turned up and sucked it, and I'd have gone, "Wow, all right." And then, having done that, he would then come back another time, and go, "Remember that time that I sucked your cock?" And they'll go, "Yeah, we go. Well, come on, that's the deal. You can't just that you got to give as well." And then he reluctantly would. So if I was William Hartnell, if I was Colin Baker, I'd just be sucking everyone's cock if I was Colin Baker, in the hope that they like me. I've already upset Colin Baker. He won't talk to me anymore because I said he was the worst Doctor Who in an article. It was only a joke. It's true, but it was only a joke.
That's the thing about comedy, It's funny because it's true.
So
thank you for that, Richard. I'm glad you cleared that up for me.
Thank you,
because that's very important.
Colin Baker, to follow up from the Danny Robbins episode where I said that Magnitude from Community was in Time Gentlemen Please on the quiz team. Colin Baker was on that quiz team as well, playing and he put on a stupid voice as well. He's the last minute, I think he rehearsed something and then suddenly at the last minute changed it to
I had a really freaky moment once. I was sat in a cafe in Chiswick, just down the road from Headliners, the comedy club.
I know it.
Sat in a cafe, having like wrap or something. Next to me, walks in this young family, right? David Tennant sits next to me.
Wow.
Fucking Sophie Thingaby, fucking the Doctor's wife, who's also the Doctor's daughter, is there. And then she's brought her daughter in. It's the Doctor's daughter. And I'm just there going, I'm eating my wrap, I'm saying nothing. This is amazing. And that was a really good day in Izzy's life.
They've kind of got to, his kids and her kids have got to be the Doctor in the future, right? Because they've so much Doctor genetic material in them one way or another. That they've just got to be the Doctor. Even if they can't act.
She's the Doctor's daughter, and she's also the Doctor's daughter.
Yeah, she's the
as
Doctor's...
well as being the Doctor's wife.
Yeah,
she's like the
and
Doctor's
so the
daughter
children are the grandchildren of a Doctor, the daughters of the daughter of a Doctor, and the daughters of a Doctor, and probably the grandparents of the Doctor as well, because that often happens, doesn't it? They go back in time and then they're doing themselves. It turns out
it's really complicated.
That's what happens in Doctor. So they've got to be Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Both of them, if there's two of them. Maybe they haven't done that before. Two doctors at once. Yeah. Regenerate into two people who can't act, but just are related to other Doctors. I think that would be good. So that's a good, enjoyable show. Setisopo, is that how you say it? Setisopo?
Well,
Setisopo,
really.
Setisopo.
I mean, it should be really sort of like, or whatever it is, how you say it. But
don't get into talking backwards. I had to do that on Taskmaster, and I was disastrously badly because I tried to work out. I should have just talked, but I should have spelt it backwards and read it out, and that would have been close enough. But I tried to work out how to say letters backwards, and it did not work.
All I know is Georgis is scissors.
And how do you know that?
Because I was a very lonely teenager and I played with my friend Andrew Kitching's dad's PC, and he had a little recordy thing, and you could play it one way and then listen to it backwards. I think when I was it was something like Ole, yes, le bozai, which is Isabel, say hello. Which sort of teenage girl I was.
Yeah, well, you'd have done well on Taskmaster. You'd have done well on Taskmaster. I think that's the reason Daisy May Cooper basically that started to dislike me, was because I couldn't speak backwards.
I think that's a good skill not to be able to do, though. I think it's a bit freaky.
We'll see. So that's a very good podcast. I was listening to... I mean, Deadlist has been going for a long old time, because I did that...
2015, I think.
Right, yeah, because I did 2015. So how long it been going? A while since then as well.
It's been going about a year. I started it at the end of 2014 because I had an idea. I was driving with Paul Sinha to a gig going, my career sucks. And he was like, yes, it sounds like it does. And I was going, I need to do a show about stuff. And he says, what are you reading at the moment? What are you doing? And I was like, I'm just reading all these history books. I love history. Blah, blah, blah. He says, do a show about history. I said, no, I can't think of anything. And then I came up with the idea of the Deadlist, which is all the obscure people in history that don't make the big news story, because at the time, and still to this day, I'm an obscure comedian who doesn't make the big things, so therefore celebrate the little people, because they're fucking nuts, right? And so I did, I put it together, and I thought, this is a really good idea, but I don't want to do all this work, so I'll get other people to come in, do all the research for me, then I'll do a few jokes here and there and say, ugh, and then they'll pay me, and it works.
It did work, and it's a good idea. Well, because, but even being an obscure figure in history means you're quite, comparative to most of the human race, you are incredibly well known. Certainly when you go back to like the Roman times, as one of the ones I was listening to, an obscure figure is someone who survived from all those millions and millions of people who we will not remember. But I think it brings up some interesting questions about the nature of fame, because even people who are trying to be famous, so like people in show business, most of them will be totally forgotten. And even ones who are successfully famous in their own time in show business, most of them will be totally forgotten.
Well, I did for my degree, Richard, because I am an educated woman.
I know.
I did my big sort of like what do you call it? I was going to say diploma. That's not right. Dissertation. There you go. Dissertation. And I did it about basically female comedy, because I thought I can get all this time to go to stand-up comedy shows and call it work. So and I was looking at like the musical people and that sort of stuff, and like you don't know any of them.
No.
They're none of them. And like people like Marie Lloyd, you might be vague of, there's a female singer of some sort. No, brilliant comedian. When she did no radio, no TV, she didn't make it into America because she travelled with a man who wasn't her husband, right? In a boat together. So bit much. But when she died, over like 50,000 people lined the streets for her funeral. She didn't do any radio or TV, and you're just like.
She had a podcast, and she did have a podcast, so it could have been. It could have been that had a very early podcast. But yeah, it's but people from even people from the 70s and 80s, even people from the 90s who were on TV, people wouldn't know who they were. Now there was some who were big stars in the 90s and had their maybe 4 TV shows, and a lot they could walk down the street now probably untroubled. But but like every now and again a name comes like David. I think David Nixon was one that came up recently, who was like one of the biggest stars of the 50s, and just like nobody would, nobody who wasn't alive in the 50s would have any idea who he was. So it's sort of incredible to even find your way into the history record and be remembered a little bit. I just listened to sort of 2 recent ones at random, which were both very interesting in different ways. And it's a good format because it's a half an hour to an hour, I suppose, isn't it? You do on each subject, and you learn a lot. There was the one that you did about Amelia Dyer, who is the Reading base.
I lived down the road from where she was.
What I like most about it was how excited you were to live near a horrific serial
killer in history. It's just on that. But I was very pleased to find that.
But that's very interesting. Given how prolific the serial killer industry is, to find like somebody who is again a prolific killer, who is not well known, and she may be killed, thousands of people, but she's certainly hundreds of people.
Certainly, yeah. And what babies? People though, babies. Nobody cares.
Well,
it's tiny, they squeak.
Sort of worse, isn't it? Because you've taken more. Certainly in COVID rules, you've taken more life away by killing a baby than you have by killing an 8-year-old. It's
also her motive was a bit. The weird thing was she was kind of psychotic in the sense that she liked to watch, which is a bit. But she was mainly doing it for money. It was a cash thing.
Yeah.
So it's like because the way the government was set up back then, it wasn't very nice to ladies. What? Because the thing is that you don't realise is like, so they introduced this poor law back in the 1830s, and you'd think, oh, brilliant, poor law. So they had the workhouses, and it was this idea that nobody, no child left behind. Well, what they did was they made it so that if you weren't married to your child's mother, you had no financial responsibility over that baby at all. So which basically meant men could just, because the problem was women were shagging too many people. That was the problem in Victorian Britain.
That is the problem.
Everybody.
It's still the problem, and it's it's different people.
It's a huge issue. We just go and shag everything. We don't get ourselves fixed beforehand. So all these women were having babies. The fathers would go away, and of course they can't afford to look after a baby, particularly on a woman's wage, at all. There's no abortion at this time that's safe. Certainly, and this type of abortion was not safe and a bit and also you don't always know, and it's a bit late anyway. So you have the baby and you think, oh well, why don't they just give it to an orphanage? Because in order to get your baby into an orphanage, you needed to have parents married, or married and dead, and that was it. And so they would literally, you'd find Victorian babies on the street like KFC wrappers. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that was a very interesting fact from that came out there. But it's. I mean, I was listening. As I told you before, and I was listening to Mary Beard's SPQR book, and the Romans just left kids out. If they just left kids on the hillside as well, and a lot of slaves.
Spartans as well. Spartans loved that.
Yeah, but a lot of slaves.
Spartan.
A lot of slaves were just babies that people had gone and picked up from the baby dumping place, and then they brought them up and they were slaves. So this woman, Amelia Dyer, was just cutting out that part.
Service.
She was people were paying her to take the babies away, and then she, rather than bringing them up like she said she would, she just chucked them in the canal, or strangled them.
Exactly. Strangle them first.
I mean, it's not a nice story.
She left evidence,
Yeah, she did leave evidence. It's not a nice story, but it's an interesting.
Been dead by now anyway, Richard. We can have a go at them.
And you recorded that one in the street as you walked to her house, and then it's
with like literally in front of her house that she killed the babies in, just going, "This is the house where they killed the baby." When people walking to their jobs,
and you go, "No, I'm a bit embarrassed because people can hear me talking about." It's very enjoyable. And the other one I listened to was, and I can't remember his. He had a difficult to pronounce name. The Emperor Hadrian's lover, Antinous.
Antinous, yes.
Which again, and you're a little. I'd kind of heard of him, but I think only probably because I just been listening to this book about Rome. But so it's to find and I did the Felix Yusupov, who I was writing a play about at the time. But you find these little stories, and often they shine a light on the bigger story. And if you can find the way in, and if you know enough about them, which obviously in Roman times, it's kind of crazy that there's loads of statues of him because he sort of became a god.
So sexy. He's the sexiest teenager ever.
Sexy teenagers.
So sexy.
It's good. So that's very well worth listening, and I think a very good idea. And I don't know. It feels like a sort of TV idea as well. To me.
I've tried.
Have you?
Oh, you love this. I got through to like the last rounds. When you go into the BBC and you go, "Here are my pitches. Look at my pitches." I get rejected so much. And I up in the elevator, in the floor, on the comedy floor. Oh, here I am in front of all the comedy people. Oh, you're through to the final round. Do you know who got ahead of me, Richard, in that particular commission?
Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Richard fucking Herring. I was in the same club, so you beat it. Your idea was better than the Z-List.
Was it?
Well
It was a radio show, was it?
Yeah, it was a radio show that I was same slot for. Yeah, so well done.
It's sad that I know it was a radio show, though, isn't it?
They're not investing in television. That's the thing.
I'm sorry. Well, they should definitely have made your show. What was that? My Objective show? Was it Objective?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was. I can't remember it exactly.
Maybe it's Relativity.
It was like 2016 or something. I don't know.
No,
but anyway,
Relativity is better than that. Yeah, so that's fine. That's fair. They made the right choice there. And the other podcast that I've been on recently talking about cloacas, as I like to do, was Terrible Lizards, which I would like it if it was just a podcast about just disappointing reptiles in general rather than about dinosaurs. Terrible Lizards. Here's a lizard. It's just shit.
It's a bit sick.
It's not very good, this one.
Yeah.
But it's about dinosaurs, which are, I guess, more interesting than just bad lizards.
They're pretty good. That came about weirdly through gin at a party. What happened was I was at a showbiz party with Mary Beard.
Wow.
So she was there. It wasn't really a proper showbiz party. It was Tom Holland's party. So Tom Holland is the historian who I did Making History with.
Yeah.
And he has teenage daughters who were in charge of mixing the drinks. So you know how a teenage daughter comes and she goes, "What would you like to drink?" And you say, "Oh, can I have a gin and tonic?" And they go, "Okay, so that's half gin, half tonic up to the top. There you go." So that's what was happening. And Tom Holland is this sort of amazing man. So he knows all of these fabulous historians, and he writes his own fabulous history books. And then he's a big fan of cricket, so there's loads of cricketers in there. And there's also all the teenage girls' friends and their parents. And his wife used to be a BBC producer and is now a midwife, so it's full of midwives. And because Tom is also a big fan of paleontologists and paleontology and dinosaurs, it's full of paleontologists. Well, I had about 3, but that's about as many as there are. So I walk in there and I'm chatting to a few people I know are there, and I'm having a drink, and I sit down and I go, "Hello, I'm Izzy, how's you?" And he goes, "Hi Izzy, did you used to go to Bristol University?" And I was like, "Yes." And he says, "Yeah, I'm Dave. We used to live together." So that's how drunk I was. Anyway, it turns out that my friend Dave, who used to keep weird insects in his bedroom, is now a world-renowned paleontologist who knows everything about dinosaurs and is absolutely fascinating. So then we said, "Oh," and he said, "Oh, you make podcasts? I really like podcasts." And then, of course, COVID happened. That my diary just went, "Hey, we're really, really busy," and absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And so I sort of rang him up and said, "Do you want to try doing the podcast?" And it turns out dinosaurs are rather popular. So we've got quite a few dinosaurs. We get sent pictures, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So you get sent pictures by 7-year-olds, which are really cute and really awesome. They're coloured in. And then professional paleo artists also send us their pictures, and we're just like, "Oh." It's really quite cool. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, that, and I've been learning loads about dinosaurs.
Yeah, well, I was just listening to one on my walk, my dog walk this evening, the latest one with Andy Riley.
Did you check the stones for dinosaurs before you chuck them away?
I didn't know. Even if I did, I'd still throw them away. I was going up the hill this time, so I wasn't doing stone clearing. Because that would be rude to stone clear and listen to your podcast at the same time at 1.5 speed, so I could get through it quicker. It's the last minute cramming. It's I was talking about cloacas and dinosaurs' sexual organs. Did you get loads of people emailed me, regardless of being on your podcast? I think when a couple of weeks ago, there was the cloaca was discovered.
The imprint of an actual cloaca.
Yeah,
it's very exciting. It's very deep. It was very deep. Yeah.
Yeah,
because it's all one thing, a cloaca. It's not. But some of them couldn't have had cloacas. I mean, I think those were on a sort of Protoceratops type creature, weren't they? They were sort of, little small dinosaur with a sort of, little spiky horn cheek things. But like some of them couldn't have. So the ankylosaurs, which are the big sort of like swingy tail, physically you couldn't, because they've got so much armour on them.
Yeah, couldn't have got anything in there.
Do it. It's a massive dick.
Yeah.
Just massive. Like really, because they got to get round all of that armour.
Yeah.
And they can't flip over because they're just too wide. They're just, they'd stay, unless they only had sex once and they did it missionary position.
Yeah. And then and then the bottom
man
one,
died
the man went on the bottom.
Yeah, exactly.
That could work.
So, yeah, riding cowgirl. Maybe that's paleo. Late Cretaceous. Actually, I think they're even before that. I think you certainly get ankylosaurs in the Jurassic. I don't know if you get them in. No, you wouldn't get them in early Jurassic.
You know a lot of stuff. You know a lot of stuff, Izzy. That's very, and you retain it, and that's the beauty of being relatively young. And that I listened to the podcast, and I can't even remember the name of the dinosaur you were talking about. With the one with the hey Fonzie Iguanodon. Of course it is. Yes,
how do iguanodons fight? 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare them.
It was good. That was a good joke. Yeah. So that's great. That's worth listening to. And I haven't listened to this one yet, and I am a British Museum member.
Ooh,
but
there
you
we go.
do.
Well,
you do a podcast about the British Museum, which is sort of my dream gig. And given I am a British Museum member, I think like when me and Andrew Collins did, we did a parody of the History of the World in 100 Objects on and we did his. Well, it wasn't a parody. We just did our own lives in 100 Objects on our radio show. Unfortunately, it didn't run to 100 weeks, so we didn't get through 100. But I think the British Museum got in touch with me and said, "Oh, would you be interested in coming and doing some comedy at the museum?" And then it never happened. But you basically get to talk to all the experts and go round and
any like visiting, like, you know, amazing academic comes in, they go, hello, I'm the best academic in the world, and you say, hello, I'm quite clever, but I'm an idiot, I know nothing about your subject, can you tell me things, please? And it's really great because you get, you know, to learn stuff. So yeah, that's because I got that because I started performing the Z-List Dead List, which they called Stiff Competition, which is so funny, at the museum itself. And from that they sort of said, oh, we've got all of these old tapes of all the old lectures and stuff, and we don't know what to do with them, should we make them into a podcast? And I was like, yes, you should. Can I do you want, I can set you up, I'm perfect for this. And so I started doing that, and it's available for everybody. We call it the member cast because basically what they're hoping is people go, I didn't know the British Museum have a membership. Right. Izzy's quite annoying. I'd like to know all of this without her there. Can you please give them money? And being a member of the British Museum is brilliant. So well done you. You get extra bonus points from me for that. That is a great way to support the science.
Apart from all the stealing. But apart from that, you just have to ignore the stealing. You just have to know I'm a member as well.
I've literally gone on stage there and called it the Finders Keepers Museum and got in huge trouble. And probably repeating that now is probably going to get me in huge trouble.
Yeah, you're probably all right. They're probably not listening. And you should join the British Museum because it's great, and you get to go in ahead of everyone else. There's a little room upstairs where you can have coffee. I mean, you have to pay for the coffee, cake. But you could go. I sort of start when I was living in London. I started thinking I should come to the British Museum every day and just do my work in here, and then I can go down and look at exhibits. But I didn't. If you could the British Museum, and take anything you wanted from it, I'm doing a different version of my question, and take it home and it's yours. If the British Museum said, we'd love the podcast so much, you're allowed to take anything you want from this museum and take it home with you. And that includes visiting stuff as well. What objects maybe would you take?
I mean, what that pings into my head, and it's just pinged in, is the Tring tiles, because they're fucking hilarious. Do you know the Tring tiles?
I should know the Tring tiles, but it rings a bell. But
beautiful.
No,
they're just up. If you walk in the British Museum and you go up round the corner and then up round again, they're on the wall behind a thing.
Right.
What they are, they're medieval tiles from Tring, and they show Jesus Christ the teenage years. It's so good. It's like Jesus getting angry with people and killing them and then bringing them back to life. It's wonderful. And there's a set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but about 8 or 9 of them, and they're just they're so funny and so good. So I'd love those in my kitchen.
That is good. That's in the apocryphal testaments, isn't it? There's stuff about him killing loads of kids or turning them into.
But because it's medieval as well, they're really picturesque. So when they kill somebody, they don't just have them sort of like lying dead or like going like this. No, because it's medieval, they have them flipped upside down. So like he killed them by like pile driving them into the ground. It's just like magic.
Right, I'm gonna look out for them next time I'm there.
Tring tiles. I imagine they're on the online on the collection online, because the collection's really fun. If you ever get bored, that's what I do when I'm bored. I just go random object in the collection. Ooh. And it's usually somebody's gusset or something. It's weird.
Yeah. Good. I think the library used to be in the museum, didn't it? The British Library, and I think I did. I went. That's where Karl Marx and everyone wrote inside that little central bit that's now where they put exhibits on in there, don't they? But I did when I worked on the Macmillan Encyclopedia of the Royal Family. I think I went and researched in there. Definitely did some research in there before it moved.
Why were you
locations.
Working on the Macmillan Encyclopedia?
In 1990, I would say I was probably there, and it was one of the first jobs. Stuart and my friend Tim Richardson got a job working for the Macmillan Encyclopedia of, I want to say gardening, but it was better than gardening. It was like a massive. It had Aldous Huxley's nephew or something. It was like one of the Huxleys. It was this big guy who's in charge and just 90 something. It was a massive encyclopedia they were working on. And then they said, "Oh, there's another job come up, and would you go and research the royal family for this?"
So what lie did you insert in?
I didn't get much. Well, the main lie I did was how many hours I'd worked on it. When I submitted my claim form, which I think is probably why in the end a few of my bits did end up in it, but I wasn't credited. And they sort of stopped asking me to do it. And I think it's probably because they thought, He's charging quite a lot of money, but it was ridiculous. You know, it was. I don't think it was that good money. It was something like £10 an hour, which at the time was an absolute fortune to me. And I wasn't earning any money. And you just told them how long you'd been working. But I ended up. This is when I ended up. I've talked about this a lot before, but I ended up going to Buckingham Palace to use the library, and then I was trying to get a pass to get in, and I was sort of misdirected, and ended up going into Buckingham Palace, into the heart of Buckingham Palace, and not being stopped by anyone, carrying I was using a big camera case as my briefcase at the time, and it was the day that all the world leaders were going to be in Buckingham Palace having a big meal later on. And I walked in and then just walked out and said to a bloke with a spike on the end of his gun, I can't find the admissions office. So I need to go. And I was meant to go outside and go all the way. So yeah, I used a toilet. I used a toilet at Buckingham Palace when I was researching. But yeah,
was it a Queen's toilet? Can you tell? Is there
I don't think it was one the Queen used. I
no
sort
big
of
spikes or.
I'm disappointed because Michael Fagan got into the Crown, and he's the guy who crept into the Queen's bedroom and wanked in her ear. They don't say that in any of the dramas, but he wanked in her ear. That's what I heard at King's Wessex School. They told me that.
No.
I've heard. I can't find anything anywhere else about it, but Kevin Adams at school said that he wanked in the Queen's ear, and you wouldn't. How would you make something like that up? And yeah, he's in this Crown, and they don't have the Crown. Richard Herring walking right into the middle in broad daylight.
Should do, yeah.
And then they could have talked to me about what it was like being a middle-class bloke on the Enterprise allowance, trying to become a comedian. And I could said, could you make it a bit easier to get gigs? And the Queen could go, think about it.
No, I won't do anything. Very difficult to write a drama where the protagonist does nothing. This is her role. She does nothing. It's so hard doing nothing. It's really odd.
But anyway, the problem with the British, the Macmillan Encyclopedia of the Royal Family was that it basically came out about the same time that the Royal Family imploded, and so was immediately irrelevant. And I only ever saw it. I saw it in Bath in a remainder bookshop, and I don't know why I didn't buy it. But it was still. I don't know. I didn't have. They didn't send me a copy, and I didn't have a copy, and it's only a thin thing. And I don't know why. It could only have been £2 or something. But I was poor at the time, and so still didn't buy it. I would love to have had a copy. If anyone's got a copy of the encyclopedia, I wrote the Isle of Wight and the Isle of Man are definitely my entries. It was a lot of research for you'd go and research, and then you'd give in 80 words about a place. Yeah. Anyway. Wow. So yeah, that's good. It's all very exciting. And have I missed any of your podcasts out? Making History, we did.
Making History, which is radio and then turned into a podcast, which was that's like proper. That's a treat. That is because I used to work for National Archives, similar to you, except I was just doing data entry and reading off Latin and trying to put it in. And I was reading the wills and probates of people and putting them in the computer so that people could look up the wills and probates of people. And my God, it was mind-numbing work, but it paid, I think, £12 an hour. And I was between school and uni, so I was like, yes. It's the best paid job I had ever. Anyway, so I was doing that. And the thing is with the National Archives, it's like a sealed building of it must be shut because of COVID, because none of the air can get in. And I've been back a couple of times, and one time was for Making History, where I was just researching into passports, and I knew what arses they can be and how difficult it can be to get them to do anything. And suddenly, I was doing a bit which 3 minutes. We had 3 minutes, and I spent an hour. They laid out the development of every single passport in history. I got to touch a passport that Queen Elizabeth had signed.
Wow.
The first, and I was like, oh, this is like kissing her. And, it's just amazing. And she is, there is no reason for it that I can understand other than she was Queenie, but she signs her name this big on everything. She must have had to sign hundreds of documents a day with all her cardinals around, well, not cardinals obviously, but all her privy councillors around her going, come on, and she's going, Elizabeth. She was insane. It was cool. But just the luxury of doing that, and that's what radio does for you. It just opens these doors, and you just get to go in and, like you say, with the British Museum, touch everything. It's really cool.
It is. Well, it's nice to get that access. That's what I want. I just want, if anyone's done British Museums watching, sorry about this thing I said about you stealing everything. Can I just come in and touch Pete Marsh and the Sutton Hoo helmet? That's all I want to do. I just want to. Can I put on the Sutton Hoo helmet? That's all I want to do. Can I just put on the Sutton Hoo helmet?
It's a bit small.
I'd still give it. I've got a very big head. I will break it, but
exactly.
I would like to try it on. Please, thank you. And I've got my own podcast, and I'll tell people to become members of the British Museum for free if you do that. Oh, I've done it for free already. If you could travel back to any historical period, not just your finger, all of you, Izzy.
Oh, all of me. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Where would where would you go? What would if you could go back one time to one historical place and time? Where would you go if you were Doctor Who and you weren't the opposite of God? You were.
I'd be really interested to see Nassau in like 1717 or 1716 or something. See the pirates and that sort of thing. I'm very interested to see how much of a decrepit sort of like cesspool of vice it really was.
Right.
Because basically what happened is the British there was the Spanish War of Succession because of King Charles and his big fat tongue. Couldn't have babies. He couldn't eat food, so having babies was a bit beyond him. Bless him. His family tree was literally like, there's mummy, there's daddy, and there's mummy and daddy. It's just like literally a stump. And he, bless him. Anyway, he died without leaving a king, and then all the British and all the French and all the Spanish had a big argument about who would succeed him. And there's a big war, and they basically sent a load of British people down to the Caribbean and stuff. And then they just left them there when the war ended. So they were all down there to help fight. And they said, okay, the war's over, bye. And all the guys went, what? And they took away their license to attack Spanish ships, which is what they'd been doing. They were basically being pirates for the British, going, we're attacking Spanish ships because that's what you want, because this is a war. And then suddenly, we're off. And then all these dudes just go, I have no money, I have no land, I'm unfortunately no slaves either. What the hell do? I'll be a pirate. And I really would love to sort of see Blackbeard and all of that sort of, it really captures your imagination. And Charles Vane, was he really as horrible as they say? And I like pirates, so
cool.
Probably pirates.
That's good. I was going to ask a supplementary question. The answer might be the same, in that I was when I was in the writer's room, we came up with a concept called horny time traveller, in which someone had a time travel ability but just used it to go back in time to have sex with historical figures. If you could have sex with anyone in history, if you could go back in time, because it wouldn't take much. You go back with an iPhone, you could just charge it, and a time machine, to be fair. But have your iPad phone going, look, I'm magic, I can do this, and they go, okay, Queen Elizabeth would have sex with you, whoever you wanted. Is there any historical figure you would?
I don't know if Queen Elizabeth would have sex with you because she had an iPhone. I think
she would. It
was quite difficult to have sex with.
No, I think an iPhone.
I mean, Darby played a long time.
Or or a Whisk. Just a whisk. Look at that! I've got a whisk. They might have had whisks. I don't know. Whisk was the second thing that I came up with.
Imagine somebody came back in time, Richard, to you right now and said, "Look, I've got a whisk."
I'd have sex with them. If they said it's a whisk if they said it's a whisk from the future, and I say it looks just like the whisk we have now, they go, "But it isn't. It's from the future." I go, "Okay."
Do you know what this is? This is subconsciously a low getting into our brains.
Right,
and because every time they mention naughty sex with Nazis, it would be wet celery and a whisk.
Maybe it's that.
That's what it is. It's gotten in there.
You could say, I predict the future. You could do a biff. You could come back with a sport almanac and tell them who was going to win.
I don't think you need to do that, though. I think, people are people. You could just give them a bit of money, maybe, or, just convince them.
I think ruin it. Look at my teeth. Okay. Look at my teeth. They're comparatively nice.
Exactly. Yeah. But the teeth weren't too bad pre-Tudor. Okay. I mean, pre-Tudor because there's no sugar.
Oh, true. Yeah.
It was the sugar that did it. That gave everybody black teeth. But where would I go? See, this is the thing. I know. Cleopatra the Seventh. Why not?
Okay,
that's the coming at you, Cleopatra. She's quite fun. She had sex with a lot. I'd imagine she'd be quite good at the sex.
Yeah.
I'd also like to see. I wouldn't like to have sex with her, but I'd like to see what Julius Caesar looked like when he first invaded Alexandria when she was a teenager, because she fancied the pants off him, and he was in his 50s. But he was in his 50s and managed to swim the entire length of the port, the sort of like harbour bit, while the Egyptians were firing arrows into the water, and he was the only guy who did it, which sounds like the sexiest scene I've ever seen in my life. He literally took his cloak off, all his mates were dying around him, there were ships burning, and he just dives in and goes in, and he's just like, guy in his 50s doing that, fuck yeah, that's pretty good. So I'd like to see that. I don't know if I'd like to have sex with either of them, but that would be a good moment to sort of go back to and just
got to have sex with them in this part of the question. You've got to, wherever you go, you've got to have sex with the person. That's the whole point of the question. It's not, you're not getting a second chance to travel back and do something cool. You're going back.
I'd probably prefer to, obviously go with a lady for the reason I want to avoid as many sexually transmitted diseases as possible. For that reason, obviously, we're going to have to go back. No, actually, I think one of my heroes, little known heroes, a woman called Margaret Murray, who lived. She basically spent her time. She's a tiny little lady, so little fingers, nice, and she good for that reason. But also, she spent her days when she was young unwrapping mummies, which is what they did in the late 19th century, unwrapping mummies, going, "Hey guys, look, it's mummy. Oh, it's stinky," because they had so many Egyptian mummies that they'd nicked, and get them, find out as much as you can. And then later on, she started to decipher all the hieroglyphs, and she worked out all the spells, and then she went a bit into the spells,
right,
a little bit, and she sort of said things like, "I can do the spells," and then she sort of said, "I won World War One because I got the thing where the Kaiser got sick, and that was me. I did the spell," and everybody went, "Oh my God, she's mad." And then, but she was also helping every single great Egyptologist who then made their names in the 20s and 30s. She was working in UCL, and she was known as the Witch of UCL. Anyway, she was banging.
Yeah, good. I'm going back to her as well now. We're going to have to fight over her.
Yeah, okay, fair enough, I'd win.
Yeah, a witch would be good. It'd be nice to have a witch. I think I'd go back to one of the proper witches from the olden days when they were real witches. They were proper witches. The ones I'd get one that had been just about to be burned, and then I'd rescue her, and then I'd rescue her with a whisk.
Marjorie your domain.
I
don't know if a whisk would even impress, in the 13th century.
They'd be scared of it. Go, get back, or I'll fire this thing.
I mean, you could pick a man who got burnt as a witch as well, because quite a few did.
No.
Could do. Just saying. Don't need to be so narrow. This is before lots of things that would make it nasty and difficult without condoms. So I'm just saying.
All right, fine. I'll give it a go. I want Charles II with his big tongue. That's
yeah.
That's why he didn't ever have kids, because he never got past the cunnilingus. That's part. They go, no, stay with us a bit. Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, he was. Yeah, he nearly suffocated in bed at night because his tongue was so large. It was so sad. I mean, I feel really bad taking the piss out of him, but he was monarchy, and I think monarchy you have to, because why don't they abdicate immediately, the idiots? Anyway.
Good. Oh, and we should talk. I've got loads of things to talk to you about, cool. And we've wasted our time talking about Whisks and Doctor Who. But in a way, isn't that what this podcast is all about?
I mean, it's a cheap Doctor Who anyway, a whisk, isn't it? It's like the mini TARDIS. Shut up. Right.
It is. It's the opposite of a TARDIS. It is a whisk. Yes, that's the opposite of a TARDIS, because you can't go anywhere in time and space with it, and it wouldn't impress someone. It wouldn't impress someone if you could. You've written a book which has been out for a whole year, and I've started this book. I haven't. It's for kids. It's for bloody kids.
It's for kids.
And I've still no, but I didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't what I was expecting for some reason. Oh. But it's sort of a historical fiction about the suffragettes. So are we around about 1910-ish? Is that the setting?
Bang on.
And what I liked in seeing an interview with you, that you, when researching this book, and this is Iszi Lawrence, as we've discovered already in this, you researched the weather for every single day of this book, and the weather is historically accurate.
But this is the beauty of writing historical fiction, right?
Yeah.
Is that when you have writer's block, you can always do more research. So I found that they used to print, because before they didn't predict the future day's weather, they had the weather page where it told you what the weather had been. So that's what I was doing. I was finding things. So it was a very rainy November, so it rains a lot in the book. It's even got rain on the cover. The rain actually shines slightly on the cover.
Oh, that's lovely.
But there you go. But yeah, no, it's a fun one, and I got that because doing the Z-List Dead List, I interviewed Naomi Paxton, who's a fantastic comedian. She does a comedy character called Ada Camp, who is really, really funny. Anyway, she did the Z-List Dead List, and she's a researcher into suffragettes. And she told me about Edith Garrod, who is this tiny little woman who trained Emmeline Pankhurst's bodyguard. So when the Cat and Mouse Act came in and you didn't want to get arrested anymore, because no more was it about political protest. It was basically them torturing you. Thank you, Winston Churchill. He was Home Secretary. Anyway, so basically Edith Garrett trained them in all sorts of fine martial arts. So you had jiu-jitsu, obviously, you had schwingen, and you had even bartitsu, which he developed for women. So 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 I found out about her, and then that kind of didn't really make me think, oh, this make a great kids book. I actually started doing jiu-jitsu, the traditional sort of jiu-jitsu. Right. Because why wouldn't you? I am now a dark blue belt. That's one away from brown. That's one away from black. I can break your neck in 6 different ways.
Good.
But I only use 2 of them because I'm rubbish at 4 of them.
Okay.
So just so you know. I love jiu-jitsu. It became really part of my life, and I wanted to share it as much as possible. And anyway, so when there was a gap in Radio 4's thing, we need a bit that will fit in this place. And I went, oh, let's do the Suffragettes doing jiu-jitsu. And that's the thing. They were mad and they were terrorists and it was brilliant. Right. So I did that, and it got made pick of the week. And when it got made pick of the week, it shared a lot on Twitter, and I saw that an editor from Bloomsbury had just gone, oh, that would make a great kids book. And I just immediately went, yes, it would. Yes. And she couldn't escape because she'd said it, and I was the person to write it. And poor Hannah had to edit it, and she did a very good job. So and that's how it sort of came about. But it was really fun to write. Weirdly.
Well, again, it's one of those subjects that people have an idea about, and then actually the truth is much sort of more brutal and but also it's that view on a world where you think, it's just sort of unbelievable. 1910, it's still unbelievable that women didn't have the vote in 1910, but it's, but also all the other injustices and inequalities that are even worse.
It was a crazy time, and it was a time of like real uprising for unions and that sort of thing. It was a time of real in 1912 the schoolboys went on strike. It was big for strikes. I think in 1912 as well. That's when Liverpool had it was John Mann and the great sort of like union stuff, and the Home Secretary at the time, who was that? Oh yeah, Winston Churchill, sent a gunboat up the Mersey. Like he was going to fire on Liverpool. It was that crazy and bad. And you had all these anarchist explosions happening, and you had it was a really, really mad time, the Edwardian period, just before the First World War. It was brilliant. And the thing is, you kind of had this idea, it was flowers in the sunshine, and there was the Titanic, but apart from that, it was lovely. It was crazy. And the Suffragettes as well, we have this really sort of weird, mucked up idea that they were really meek. Okay, they're really meek, and they starved themselves, and they were really meek, and then the men eventually noticed and gave them the vote. No, they exploded things, burnt things down, they cut phone wires, they burnt pillar boxes, which they were really bad at, so they often just burnt themselves on the way to pillar boxes. And like the women, we mentioned the British Library and British Museum, women were not allowed in. We got banned because like all women, not suffragettes, all women were not allowed in the British Museum without a man with them to make sure that they weren't going to blow stuff up, or a letter from a doctor or a lawyer of a man of reputation on a pre-arrangement. That's how you got in to get to the library, because women would just go in and smash stuff and go, I want that. So it was crazy, and I just thought, and the jiu-jitsu is just lovely because it really was great. Mixed martial arts before mixed martial arts, and I thought this is like a fun story. Yeah, so it's sort of 8+, kids 8+. Yeah, I mean it's basically the same. It's the first Harry Potter book sort of age. That sort of age. But yeah, I've had some 6-year-olds who've read it and loved it, and I've had some 56-year-olds who've read it and loved it. So, it's had a lovely reception, which is really nice. No, it's banging. So that's still available. I was listening to the audiobook. It's on audiobook, which I like. Yeah, and read by a proper actress as well. To do the accents. Yes, it's lovely. It's very good. She's got other things. Go on. Sorry. That's all right. I'm writing another one. It's out in autumn. Yeah, it's not set then though. No, set in a different time. Oh, wow. Well, it might have a few Spitfires in it. Great. Well, that's good news. So it's gone well. It's gone well enough to do another one, which is always a good sign. I mean, it's gone well considering all the bookshops have been shut and some of the libraries. And well, it sort of came out about exactly a year ago, so just as... Exactly. Well, my book came out... I had about a month. Right. My book came out as the second lockdown began, so the shops shut on the day my book came out, so that's always good. That's always good. But, people are reading... Well, I think audiobooks have started doing pretty well in lockdown. Yeah. And I think there was actually a bit of a bad period as
the beginning of the first lockdown when your book came out. So you've done well to survive that. But then I think actually book sales have gone up. I've been reading books. That's how insane it's gone.
I know. I've got loads of so many good ones. I'm next on my list. I think is Natalie Haynes's Pandora's Jar, which is a bit like the Coke can at the beginning.
Okay.
So,
yes.
You know, I'm looking forward to that because I love Natalie. So.
Yeah, she's great, Natalie, and Natalie must come on this.
You should. She should. She'd make you. You called me clever. No. She. Oh my god. Like she does historical fiction. I do it when you can actually like read stuff about the people and everything. She does the Bronze Age, right? And I was discussing this with her. She's like, Izzy, it's really difficult because I've got the scene and I want to describe how sexy this guy is, right, and how beautiful his skin is. So I said it was like an apricot, but this is the Bronze Age. They didn't have apricots. What? So it's just like, she's like, I'm putting it in, I'm going to get letters. And I'm just like, you're going to get letters? She's like, So it can get proper nerdy. So you've got to... my big thing was, there's a scene in my book where Lettuce gets thrown into a horse cart full of horse poo and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, dust cart. And I wanted it so that she could be hiding in there. And because, it'd be nice and covered and she could hide. And I was really pleased with the scene and I wrote it. And I just thought, actually, I better research dust carts. And they didn't have covered dust carts until 1920.
Oh.
What? It's just, so I had to rewrite that a bit. But
there must have been one in 1910. The one bloke had the idea in 1910. It filtered through to 1920.
Yeah, but you're going to get the dust cart lobby going, well, that's just, I can't buy into this character anymore.
That's why you should, that's why you should write about magic schools with wizards in them, because you can do what you like them.
Can you?
Yeah, because it just goes magic. How do they get through that chimney? Oh, magic. How do they... why is that elf come from magic?
I found out about in a recent episode of Terrible Lizards. Dave told me. He revealed to me. It's not in the book. In the book, the spoilers here if you haven't read Chamber of Secrets, but the basilisk in the Chamber of Secrets is a serpent, and in the film... they've definitely made it with blinking eyelids, and it's got a really obvious reptilian head. It's a lizard. It's a lizard. It's a legless lizard, which is completely different to a serpent. No way could that thing speak parcel tongue.
Right.
So,
except magic. It's magic.
Parcel tongue is
magic.
And if you're not
it's because there was a magic. It was a magic. Basilisk. It was a magic one that had that. That's what I'm saying. J.K. Rowling get away with anything. She can get, literally.
You have to have
that woman.
To have the logic in there.
That woman could say anything, and no one would get upset about it because she could just get away with anything. That's what J.K.
Fiction
Rowling
needs. Like I was having a debate once about the best way to infiltrate the Starship Enterprise if you're a Romulan, right? And it has to be Next Generation Enterprise because they wear the onesies. They do not have any toilets on the bridge at all. They don't. There's never a scene where you have like Captain Kirk pulling up his onesie. So, not Kirk, Picard, sorry. But pulling up his one. So what must happen is O'Brien down in the engineering. What's he doing at that desk all day? Obviously, what he's doing is he's keeping the bridge content by beaming the wee out of all of the bladders of the people on the bridge, so that they're always like on it. Right, so if you're a Romulan, all you need to do is just beam aboard, attack O'Brien, and then beam all of the piss straight back into Picard at once.
Yeah.
And then they'd be just completely lost, needing a wee, and all down in their onesies, unable to run, and that sort of thing, and then you'd be able to get in there on time. See, it's things like that which make fiction important that you get it right.
You do have to get it right. Have you been watching Lower Decks? I
haven't yet. I need to. I will do. I've watched all of Discovery and stuff, but I have not yet to watch Lower Decks.
I think you'll enjoy it. They could make that into an episode. Why don't you send that in as an episode? Before we go, you cut your own hair during lockdown.
Yes.
You've done pretty well.
It's gone floof, but it's the back.
It's good.
You worry about.
Yeah.
It's all right.
That's very good. It's extremely good. You can draw a circle to 95.2% perfection.
I could. And that is on my silly little touch thing, which has a clicky thing, and I was doing it on that screen rather than this screen, and it was difficult.
Okay, I'll try and do my best circle now to see what you think this is.
Okay, I'm gonna have a look at that. Okay, he cheated, everybody. That's not human.
I just did that. That's amazing.
No, you
Look
didn't.
at that.
No, you didn't. I don't believe you.
I'll do it again.
I think that was printed out.
It is pretty bad.
I think you've got a compass down. That's a compass, see? That's just a compass. You've actually got a little compass down there.
A little
you're doing that every single time.
Are you mocking me?
I think actually you're just using the excuse to draw boobies now. That's all that is.
There you go. That's actually what my testicles look like right now.
I'm sorry about your testicle situation.
No, yeah, it's all right. Well, hopefully it's just takes a long time.
I had a gynecological situation which turned out all right.
Okay.
But the gynecological lady at the hospital's tools, right? She's basically, there is no woman who looks more like a little mole than you can imagine. Just like, coming at you, which makes you want to sort of run away. But it was fine. It was fun. So good luck with that.
Yeah, hopefully. I've had a good knock, so it's all right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
not like you've got any dependence or anything. Or
they've done their duty, those guys down there. So as long as it's just, if it is, it's just them. Just whip them off, I say.
Yeah.
Whip
well,
them
you
off.
could do. You could do.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, you could still perform.
Yeah.
But you couldn't, do the rest of it.
Yeah. I don't want to. I definitely don't want to do the rest of it.
That's the thing about, when I say Cleopatra was at it all the time. Back then, that's why you had eunuchs, is so that you could, without risking pregnancy. They still did it.
Did they?
Very frustrated eunuchs. All in the administration.
The terrible thing about being a comedian is you just start thinking about all the brilliant stand-up show you could do about, even if the worst possible thing happened, you think, but it'd be good. I've got the male eunuch, that could be the title. I've got loads. Amazing. I've already taken the head, and I'll be disappointed if I'm all right. I will be very disappointed if I'm okay.
You should start speaking in a Joe Pasquale voice for no reason. It's so good.
It's very, it's all. It gives you. I mean, I'm hoping it's not anything, because then I can go back to not caring and noticing how beautiful the world is. But you start to notice all that when you start to think, maybe I might die one day. You don't. Even though I'm obsessed with death, I don't really think about it. And you do start to go, this is nice. That life's nice. So the minute they go, it's all clear. I'll go, fuck it. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Don't have to worry about life being beautiful and enjoying it. I could just get on with it and work myself into the grave in another 20 years' time. I'll be happy. I'll be happy with another. My daughter's 6 years old today. It'd be nice to. Wow. It'd be nice to be around till they're both 18. That's all.
But if you die early, you'll really sort of like give them a really good story in their autobiography. It'll be like a whole chapter just on you.
It will.
Whereas if they're successful and you're still alive and around, you're not going to be Dad, whatever.
Yeah, but see, my son is only 3. We won't remember. So I've got to stay alive. I've got to just try and hang on for 2 or 3 years, just so I emotionally damage him, and then they'll become comedians, because that you need that. I've got to make him really like. If you were going to die and you had kids, and they're young kids, you have to sort of think: should I behave like? Should I be a really nice dad so they remember me in a really nice way, or should I be a really bad dad so that they don't remember me and don't care that I'm dead? And you have to make that kind of decision as well when you're thinking about this. So I've thought it all through.
This is the thing, because that is the difference I've noticed, because I'm bisexual, so I've dated men and women, and I've noticed the difference is when a man wants to split up with you, he just ghosts you. He just stops replying to texts and he just goes. When a woman wants to split up with you, she starts to feel sorry for you and she's extra nice to you so she can let you down gentle. No. And it's the worst strategy. Because you think, this is a good relationship. Oh my God, things are going so well. And so, yeah.
Yeah. I just stay in the relationship and hope the other person dies. That was my tactic. Not now. I love my wife and I want her to stay alive. But for a long time, it's just sort of, God, it'd be good if they would just die in an accident and get me out of this. Never happened. Never there. All my lovers survived. I was never going to, push it. Yeah. But if that could happen by accident.
I've still not had sex with somebody that has subsequently died. So that's...
Wow, I bet I have.
Yeah, I bet you have. You've had sex with loads of people.
Statistically, some of them.
Statistically, I mean, particularly after COVID. Sort of people who have sex with you.
And it was very, very old men I was having sex with for a long period of time. So some of them must have gone. I think they're probably a few. What a wonderful conversation to draw this to a close.
Well, we started with your balls.
We did. It all comes. It's the circle of life.
Exactly.
But balls give you life. If they also kill you, that really is the circle of life. It's a wonder. We are wonderful. You came from balls, and balls take you out.
Back to balls.
Balls take you out. Look, it's been lovely chatting with you, and I have to recommend all of those podcasts are all excellent. The book is excellent. I'm only a little way into it, but it's at The Unstoppable Letty Peg. Buy that for yourself if you're one of my fans, because you know you're going to enjoy it, or for children if you are a normal person. And
please, if normal people have watched this.
And you'll love Izzy's podcast because she's the biggest nerd I have ever met in my life.
That can't be true.
It is, and I've met all of my fans. Well, like, you're a dangerous nerd because you're a very clever nerd, and so you know about stuff. But also, you know, that's it. That when you just remember all this stuff and you've got all that information to hand and you've researched things properly, it's very, very impressive. So the detail is what the people who enjoy this podcast, because that's what this podcast is all about. It's about detail. It's about learning. That's what the RHLSTP is all about. All the way. Good luck with the book. Good luck with the new book. Thank you. Will you be back to stand up when we're back to stand up, or is everything else taken over now?
I had a show that I was working on called Suffragettes versus Velociraptors, and I'm not sure if I'm doing that because it's a good one. It doesn't go the way you think it would go.
Okay.
So so I'm debating what I'm doing really. I mean, I will do stand-up, whether I'll be doing it as a career or a hobby. In terms of financial reimbursement is another matter. But I love it too much to give it up forever. I just want to tell people stuff.
Good, yeah. Well, you should and you must. But you know, it's wonderful that online is available to us right now, and for you, it's good that we're still managing to create stuff before we hopefully get back into the real world and meet people again. It was weird doing a podcast with the actual guest in the same room as me, which was the last two. But it was not nasty, but nice. But
during the last thing when we were allowed, I did gigs in front of cars for Jericho Comedy.
Oh yes,
that was odd. I had this thing. I was emceeing it, so I was doing they had two shows going on at the same time, and I was doing bits and I was emceeing. And as I was emceeing, I just had this image because it was dark by now, and the front row of cars had switched their lights on to help sort of light stage, and it was quite. And all I was thinking as I was telling my joke was in my head. I was going, "What if they all turn their engines on? And they all just crept slowly towards you?
Yeah,
it just never stopped and." Wouldn't that be an interesting way to die? Your headline act!
I think that about audiences of people. What if the audience just got up and started walking towards the stage as one very slowly? I think me and Stu had that same idea back in the early 90s and thought about paying an audience to go into a comedian we didn't like and then just having a signal where the audience just all stood up and then just started walking towards the stage in unison. That would be scary, wouldn't it?
I remember being at a gig once, this must have been early 2000s, and I was in the audience, I wasn't gigging, I was just watching, and some of the audience had decided they were going to muck this comedian up by just doing a low hum.
Right.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was really horrible. I was like, wow. And I was watching somebody's ego just fracture in front of me, and I thought, I never want to do stand-up comedy, I'm not taking that. Those people are idiots.
People are awful, comedy audiences are awful, comedy fans are all idiots. And on that bombshell... Thank you very much.
I love you, though. I love you.
Well, I love you, but
yeah, but
everything I said is true still. Thank you very much, Izzy. Lovely to talk to you.
Lovely to talk to you too, Richard.
I'll see you soon. Thank you very much. We're back next week. Don't have a guest yet, but I'm trying to get some guests from America coming up. I'm going to, and Jeremy Paxman is maybe 2 or 3 weeks away. Imagine that, 2 or 3 weeks to Jeremy Paxman. Thank you very much. See you soon. Goodbye.
How'd you like them sky potatoes?